Hey guys, and welcome to a movie discussion. I usually give a movie discussion about a movie when I think it's worth discussing about, and Total Recall is really one to discuss about. I mean, the reason that it's a remake is already uh, worth a discussion on itself. Like I said in my review, is that I think the original did a better job than than the remake. Um, Simply because I believe in storytelling and how it's brought to the audience, and the original did a better job. The whole plot and the plot twist, they were far stronger than in its remake, and I'm going deeper into that later. I first want to say what I liked a bit more about the remake, and it's not even the visuals, because uh, of course it's a lot better, but that's because of it's of this time. And if you just look at the version of 1990, it was pretty impressive what they did back then as well. And honestly, if I watch it now, some things look a little cheap, but it's not disturbing at all. They did a solid job there as well. Sometimes it's a little bit, it looks a little bit funny, but I still think that the visuals is not something that was done better. What I do think was that they did better. In its original, you had another character played by second year. What was his name again? Why, Michael Ironside, and he played like an agent from the main antagonist, and he was the one in the original hunting Arnold down, and in its remake it was Kate Beckinsale, his wife, and I like that a lot more. Seriously, I just like when a girl just takes control, and Kate Beckinsale just did such a good job, and I find it a lot more fun to watch, because she also had like this rivalry going on, because she was really jealous that Douglas McQuaid was the number one spy of the main antagonist, and she wanted to be that, and that was not part of the in the original. It was too bad, I think. But so they did a good job with the remake in just setting Kate Beckinsale as the one who hunts him down and giving her more screen time, which is like a pretty smart choice to make, because he doesn't want to see a lot of her. Then the things I liked more about the original, and first of all, yeah, so the story is all about two groups fighting over something. In the original it was the rebels against, actually the original played on Mars, that's what I really liked as well, and it was on a different planet. But in the original you really had two groups, the rebels and the main antagonist, who controlled the air in the facility. So, and the fight was in that story about getting more air, and the whole rebel story and the conflict between those two was really brought into the front. You really saw some battles in between the rebels and the the bad guys, actually. And in this remake, it was more put to the background. I had the feeling. I remember that I was sitting in the cinema, and I honestly just didn't really got what they were fighting about and what the invasion was about. Because at one point at the end of the movie, the United Federation of Britain blame some crazy attacks on the colony, so they decide to attack the colony, because the main antagonist wants to grow his imperium on their ground. that story was about. And in the original it was about air, and that was really brought to the front. And this one is brought in a bit more to the back. You didn't saw any battles between those two, which I thought was a shame. And I honestly just didn't really realize that there was a conflict going on. And that was in the original done a lot better. Yeah, they did a lot better job. So that's one thing, that the two opposite sides, that it was more brought into the front in the original than its remake. The second thing I thought the original did a lot better was the plot twist at the end. In both stories the main character, you know, gets a new identity. He doesn't know who he is. In the original he's like I think a construction worker, and in the remake a factory worker. But you know, he finally gets chased down and he gets messages from his previous self that he was indeed a spy, he did a lot of bad things, but he changed his allegiance to the rebels because he met a girl. In both versions they do that. And I think in both versions he also gets two messages from his previous self, guiding him a bit through the story. But then in the end, in both versions, the main villain wants his spy back. So in both versions he also wants to give his identity back, the spy identity. And they want to override the new identity. But in the original, you see a last video of the spy version with the main villain next to him, revealing and telling him that everything was part of the plan up until now. And he wants his identity back, and he thanks him for being good with his body and didn't get him killed. But in the remake they didn't do that. They left that whole part out. And for me the plot made it a lot stronger in the original, because you see that last video with the spy version of him saying that he wants to get his identity back. And in the original they leaned a bit more that he was really changed by the rebels. So the surprise was a lot better in the original version. So those I think were the main points from the original that I thought were done better, and that's why I think it's a better movie. And that leaves the ending, because that also leaves out some discussion. Because is it real, or is it all played out in recall? I think the original filmmaker, or I think I've read it somewhere, I don't know if it was the writer of the book or the one who produced the original movie. One of them, they said that he preferred that everything was real, and so do I, because how awkward would it be to step out from that, you know? I mean, first of all, how did he get the nightmares in the beginning? That really doesn't fit. And man, can you imagine stepping out from that? Like you're being an action hero from one day and then go back to your old life. And he even falls in love with someone else. And getting back to his old life and wife, I mean, you get back like, hey honey, sorry, I just fell in love with someone else in my mind. Yeah, I know. And so, you know, I prefer that it was all real. It gives for a much better ending, and I like a good ending. And you know, if it was all played out in recall, it just gets too complicated. So I think that's where I'll end my discussion for now. I really like to know what you guys think. Did you think the remake was better or the original? And what did you think of the ending? Do you prefer that it was real, or was it all fake? yeah, so let me know in the comments. I'm Zani, and remember, I'm doing this for myself, but more for you. See you guys later.